Hello, I'm Joe Marin, Senior Analyst, Digital Technologies for Printing Industries of America, and today's video topic is communicating and describing color. Have you ever tried to describe to someone the color of something? It's difficult, isn't it? And that's because it's a sensation, like touch, like taste, like smell. Have you ever tried to describe to somebody how something tastes or how something smells? It's very, very difficult, and color is as well. So we often use vague, fuzzy terms such as make it jump off the page, or too warm, or too cold in describing color. Well, to really describe color properly, you need to understand what I call the three attributes associated with color images. And those three attributes are contrast, color balance, and color saturation. Now, in some examples, let's take a look at each one of these. Let's start with differences in contrast and what contrast is. Now, in these examples, in the upper left, we have a good color reproduction. There's good contrast here, and there's good color balance. Now, let's make some comparisons. In image number one, if we were to use vague terminology, we might say that, hey, this is blown out, when the problem really is that it's too light in the highlight areas. Now, image number two, we might say is muddy, to use improper terminology, when in fact the image is too dark in the shadows. We might say that image number three is flat, or washed out, or it needs more snap, when in fact the proper term is that it's lacking in contrast. The light areas are not light enough, and the dark areas are not dark enough. So, you understand what contrast is. Now let's take a look at color balance. If you look at all of these images and you compare it to the accurate reproduction, we could say that these images are all too warm, but they're all different, aren't they? We can see that we have an image that is too magenta, too yellow, and too red. Now, a tip for determining if color balance is an issue is to look at the neutrals within the image. And in this case, it's the wall or the refrigerator. Do you see that by focusing on these neutral areas, they really tell you quickly which way the image is casting? So if you're looking for color balance problems, don't look at saturated colors. Don't look at the colored areas of the image. Always focus in on the neutrals. Finally, let's take a look at color saturation. So in this image, we have good contrast and good color balance, but the saturated colors are not quite right. The tomatoes aren't really red, and the lettuce isn't really green. So what we need to do is make the necessary saturation adjustments without changing the rest of the image. So we can actually do this using the selective color tool in Photoshop, and we can make changes to the saturated colors. So now we see that the tomatoes are nice and red, and the leafy lettuce is now green. So remember, when you're evaluating images, always think contrast, color balance, and saturated color. Now, we looked at each one of these three topics independently of each other, but keep in mind when you're evaluating images, the problem could be just one of those things, two of those things, or all three of those things. So remember, using imprecise terminology will result in additional proofing cycles, which can delay your job. The bottom line, use specific, precise terminology when communicating color. It will save you time and money. Until next time, thanks so much for watching.